He wasn't supposed to be home yet. 4 weeks away, sealing deals worth millions, and tonight was meant to be a surprise. But the moment he stepped through the kitchen doorway, his chest tightened. His little boy wasn't running toward him. He was clinging to a black woman Grant had never seen before, her cheeks wet with tears. The boy's grip was desperate, his voice trembling. "Please, don't take her away." In that instant, Grant's mind leapt to assumptions. The kind society had been feeding him for years. But the truth waiting in that kitchen would shatter all of them. Grant Harlow's life ran on money and control. His luxury penthouse overlooked the city, his investments were spotless, and his wardrobe could have been in magazines. Raising Ethan alone after his wife passed, he convinced himself the best care came from expensive agencies, professionals who looked good on paper. When his assistant mentioned hiring Maya, a black woman from the agency, he didn't think twice. Not about her background. It's not about whether his wealthy circle would judge. But deep down, he had learned to expect professional meant polished, distant, emotionless. The kind of help that didn't blur lines. The last 4 weeks had been a blur of Geneva boardrooms and late-night calls, all for a deal he believed would secure Ethan's future. Told himself the absence was worth it. Ethan would have everything. But as he wheeled his suitcase down the hall that night, something felt off. A sound carried from the kitchen, not the light laughter of a child, but the raw, breaking sob of someone holding in too much for too long. When he turned the corner, Ethan wasn't at the table. He was wrapped around Maya, gripping her like a lifeline. And in that split second, before he spoke a word, Grant's mind flickered with a thought society had taught him too well. Why is my son holding her like that? Grant froze, his eyes darting between the boy and the woman. Maya looked up, startled, but didn't let go of Ethan. Her skin was warm brown, her hair tied back loosely, her hands steady despite her damp cheeks. "I'm Maya," she said. From the agency, Grant remembered approving her file without much thought, but seeing her now, in his kitchen, his first instinct wasn't to ask if his son was hurt. It was to wonder why she was crying, why Ethan was clinging to her like family. Ethan didn't lift his head. "Please, Daddy, don't take her away." Grant frowned. "Why would I?" Maya lowered her gaze. "Because I burned the rice. And because he told me he wishes I was his mom." The words cut. But beneath the sting was something uglier. A whisper Grant didn't want to name. The thought that maybe a woman like Maya didn't belong in this part of his world. It was the quiet bias he'd inherited without invitation, the kind that disguised itself as standards. She went on. "He's been having nightmares, calling for someone every night. I was the only one here. I held him, told him he was safe. He finally slept." Grant's mind flashed back to the times Ethan's teachers mentioned changes in mood and how he'd brushed it off. His assistants had said things were fine. Maya looked directly at him now. "I've worked in homes like this before. Learned something. People like me are trusted to clean, to cook, to keep children alive, but we're not trusted to matter. Your son matters to me?" The air between them shifted. Grant's empire, his polished life, suddenly felt paper-thin compared to the reality in front of him. His son had found safety in someone's society, often treated as disposable, and part of him knew if she had been someone else, someone who looked more like him, maybe he wouldn't be standing here questioning why Ethan held her like this. Grant took a step forward. Ethan flinched, pressing harder into Maya's side. The sting of that reaction went deeper than pride. It was a sign of something broken. Maya's voice was steady. "Can't read your bank account, Mr. Harlow. All he knows is you leave. And in this world, a boy like him learns quickly who shows up and who doesn't." Grant knew what she meant. She didn't just mean him. She meant the kind of absence Ethan would see everywhere. Fathers who worked themselves into ghosts. Neighbors who crossed the street when Maya walked by. People who smiled at Ethan but watched Maya like a shadow. Ethan's muffled voice came. "She helps me breathe." It wasn't just comfort, it was survival. Grant looked at his son, at the way he clung to her without shame, and realized He was staring at something far rarer than any luxury he could buy. Trust built across a line the world still insisted on drawing. He opened his arms. Not like a man sure of the outcome, but like one willing to be taught. Ethan hesitated, then stepped toward him. It wasn't a run, it wasn't cinematic. It was cautious, deliberate, the way a person approaches a bridge after watching too many collapse, when Ethan finally rested against his chest. Grant held him with both arms, his eyes meeting Maya's over the boy's head. And in that silent exchange was an understanding. Rebuilding trust would take more than gifts or apologies. It would take presence and courage to stand against the quiet prejudice that had shaped his life without permission. Later, when Ethan had fallen asleep on the couch, Grant found Maya in the kitchen. "I know this isn't the job you expected," he said. "It's not," she replied, "but it's the one he needed." Words landed like truth often does. Simple, deniable. Grant thought about the unspoken rules of his world, how people like him were told they could buy care. People like her were told they could give it, but only within limits. Racial lines weren't drawn on paper anymore, but they lived in assumptions and who was trusted to be family and who wasn't.